best part of waking up. Archaix in your cup. You guys know it. Well, how's that? Mic volume? No sound, cowboy. That's not good. How this happen? This hasn't happened in 2 years. All right. Not good. There we go. We got sound now. Okay. We got the tech retardedness out of the way. So today we're gonna go deep into the structure of reality. I'm gonna break down this entire experience that you're having right here with me as a soul passing through a construct. I'm gonna break this down into very fundamental, easy to understand explanations. And once it's laid out for you, it's going to become very obvious what our role is here. So I was talking to a dear friend this morning, and I made a comment in casual conversation, but the comment profoundly affected this individual. So I decided, you know what? Well, I'll go ahead and just use it in my presentation today. What I had said in casual comment was that you can't throw a player into the middle of a game that's already rigged and expect that player to win. I'm going to drink to that. Imagine a game that's been going on for thousands of years. Imagine that game requires certain fundamentals that are operative and that we all agree to. And then imagine you get thrust into that game thousands of years in while it's still playing. But in that thousands of years, the game itself has been able to just architecturally build all kinds of traps and trips and all kinds of obstacle course things. You're not guilty of anything for your inability to cope with the game when you're thrust into it. The deck was stacked against you from the beginning and for a reason. Now, this kind of ties into what I've told you guys in multitudes of presentations. You are not here to save the world, and this seems to really trigger a lot of Christians. But that's okay, because most of you get it. But you're not here to save the world. You were never put here for that purpose. You cannot throw a player into a game that's already rigged and expect that player to succeed. You're not here for that. What you're here for is something amazing. We're going to get to that in this. Unlike my prior presentations when we're breaking down reality, I don't think I had ever, I was led by inspiration to come up with this itinerary for the day. I may publish this itinerary. I give free PDFs all the time. I may publish this just so you guys can have it in writing. You don't have to go to Gaia. You don't have to pay some moron $20 a month to go get this information, teach you how to manifest and teach you how to do it. You're going to get it in one presentation. You're going to get it by first understanding what this experience is. Because once you understand that, you're going to understand exactly what you can do with this information. That's what this video is about. That's my intro. All right, let's do it. We got over 1,000 people in here. That's a good start. Remove my coffee deal. I do have a couple of announcements. For those of you who love my beloved brother, Martin Leakey, I will be a guest on Martin Leakey's show on Wednesday. I'll post it in the community. I'll post it on X. It'll be all over Facebook. But I'm not going to do the show on my channel. I'm going to go on his channel and be a guest. And we're just going to cut it up, talk about all kinds of stuff. I've been on his channel quite a few times, but he's been on mine more. So we're trying to balance that out. Well, Martin Leakey on Wednesday, I'll be on his channel. Archaix Academy. You guys know because of my prosecution, because of other YouTubers conspiring against me and putting law enforcement in my business, and then me and going to court and straighten all this out. You know that I got far behind on Archaix TV, and I got far behind on Archaix Academy. But I'm moving like a locomotion now. 6 very data-packed Archaix Academy courses just dropped. 6 of them have been added to the 20 that are already there, and I have about 15 more soon to drop. I just got to edit them all. And once I get the majority of the Archaix Academy courses online, then we're going to start doing the videos just for Archaix Academy. And yeah, this is the deep stuff. This is for those who want the source materials. This is for those who really value their education. Each course is $12 for downloads on Potentia. We are no longer accepting what we did like 6-7 months ago. We're no longer accepting that. I don't know what this is. This is not my office. Oh, it's a trail camera. I'm gonna unplug that somehow. Yeah, we don't need you spying on me. Take that. All right. Now, this is Texas, guys. We got trail cameras everywhere. All right. So, Archaix Academy courses are back on track. In 3 days from now, on the 29th, for those of you who enrolled in OFIS, we'll be taking our predictions. On the 29th, we'll start taking predictions requests. Barry had some technical difficulties. He's not really good at doing the videos. Barry, Doug, and maybe Cole. I don't know about Cole's role yet. They're going to be doing the crypto predictions and all that. It's not my interest, but just to show the viability of our date sequence predictive analytics system, I'm doing the sports predictions and I will publish them. And I'm also doing the personal predictions, and so is Big John and one other individual, and that begins on the 29th. Let's see. You just saw my coffee ad. The link is in the description box if you want to order some Archaix coffee. There's all kinds of different blends. If you go to Archaix Podia, you will see that there is a massive mega bundle for free. It's a single download, but it's over 1,000 pages of Archaix content, and I recommend anyone who is new to the Archaix data to get that free bundle. It's over 1,000 pages, and it's Archaix glossary, syllabus, bibliography, 400 recommended books that educated me. Yeah, it's everything that a beginner needs. It even has a huge course that's Archaix beginners course. Introduction. It's called Introduction to Archaix. It's all there. The link is in the description box right now. But if you're really interested in this material and you're lost, like so many people are when they first get here, I would suggest you get this. It's absolutely free. It's one download, but it's over 1,000 pages. It's multiple PDFs. That's it. That's my announcements. I'm done with my announcements. So let me check my chat before I start. Man, love this. I love this mug here. Ain't never gonna run out of bullets. All right. Dick Flinghammer. Man, how'd you come up with that name? Oh man. One Tux, how you doing? I see Wildwoods. Kimberly, how are you? Otto, Chenault, that blue wrench looks good on you. Runaway Train. Thank you, moderators, for keeping a tight ship. Nanny Boo Boo, thank you guys. Didger Daru. I hope I said that right. I'm not from down under. I'm not from down under, so I just don't know. So let's get straight into this presentation. Guys, I'm telling you now, unlike any previous Archaix presentation, today you're going to leave this video with a very good understanding of what the hell is going on. What are we experiencing right now? Everything in your daily life and everything in your digital life is going to make sense once you listen to these core fundamentals about our reality and what is happening and what our choices are. Only by understanding the medium that we're passing through, only by fully understanding what this is, will you understand what your choices are. And once you understand what your choices are, you can see how each choice has literally led you to where you are right now. This is what we're going to talk about in this video. Okay, let's do it. Let me, there's a quote I want to show you guys. Let me share my screen. So I'm sharing. All right. So real quick, you guys should see this. So listen to this real quick. We're going to start with a couple quotes, then we're going to go straight into breaking down these things into fundamentals. One does not need to believe in the existence of this phenomena for it to work. The phenomena being talked about here is literally building our own reality. One does not need to believe in the existence of this phenomena for it to work. If a thing is a law of reality, non-recognition of its operation would not impede it in any way. Such is supported by the old Chinese adage, when the right man makes use of the wrong means work in the right way. This means that the highly individualized soul literally overrides the protocols of the construct by thought alone, by expectation and intent. That's a very powerful recognition by the ancient Chinese. When the right man makes use of the wrong means still work in the right way. So many times I have discussed that I'm a student of Ishak Bentov, Paul the Violet, and P.D. Ouspensky, the student of Gurdjieff. This is a quote from Tertium Organum, written over 100 years ago by P.D. Ouspensky. Real quick, I have feedback going on with a really loud TV. Hold on. Hey, can you guys turn that TV down just a little bit? It's really coming loud through this door. I'm gonna wait right here. It's you guys might not be able to hear it on the microphone right here, but I can barely hear myself because it's so quiet in here. Oh, it's good, guys. It's good. It's perfect. So here's Tertium Organum by P.D. Ouspensky. First of all, we must get rid of our assurance that we, wait a minute, our assurance that we see since that which we see, there's a typo here. You know, you guys know I'm neurotic about that. I'm going to correct it right now. Okay. First of all, we must get rid of the assurance that we sense that which exists in reality, and that the real world is like the world which we see. For example, we must rid ourselves of the illusion of the material world. I call this the Materium. I'll explain why. We must understand mentally all the illusoriness of the world perceived by us in space and time, and know that the real world cannot have anything in common with it. To understand that it is impossible to imagine the real world in terms of form. And finally, we must perceive the conditionality of the axioms of our mathematics and logic, related as they are to the unreal phenomenal world. To P.D. Ouspensky, this wasn't a physical reality. This was an experience. And being an experience, we experienced it as physical, although it's not. I explained to you guys multiple times that by virtue of the central nervous system, we are convinced that things are physical because this is the information, this is the feedback we get. We feel everything is physical because these are the signals that we interpret, because these filters make us interpret that way. But we're going to break this down so you understand that this is not a physical reality at all. We must rid ourselves of the illusion of physicality. Once we do that, it opens up new corridors of potentia, of opportunity. We'll see this in a minute. So we're going to break down the real world. We're going to break down the real world in such a way that we can all understand it. So I'm going to ask you to do what every Hollywood director asks you to do as well. It's called the suspension of disbelief. We do this all the time. In order to watch a science fiction movie about like Star Wars, we suspend our disbelief, and we're not critical because we know we're entertaining something that might be fantasy. So in entertaining that fantasy, we actually take enjoyment for it. But we wouldn't have ordinarily enjoyed it if we were being responsible humans and separating fact from fiction. Because if a religionist was put into a cinema and forced to watch something that was totally, completely anti-Christian, that religionist would not enjoy that cinematic production. That religionist would sit there and just toxify and watch and observe and single out everything that was perceived in that movie that was anti-Christian, and leave with the experience of knowing that, oh, I just watched something that was totally anti-Christ, the Christian did not suspend their disbelief in order to just casually observe and objectify and take in something. Well, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing the Hollywood directors do to their audiences. get them to suspend their disbelief in order to convey a message. The message I'm conveying is wide open. I am going to lay bare for you the reality that you're in right now. But in order for me to do that, you have to suspend your disbelief and just listen to the information as it is presented without all the attachments and the criticisms and the bias and the prejudices that you have already taken on through belief structures that are completely erroneous. That's all I'm asking. Just open your mind and listen to this material. And when you come out the other end of this tunnel today, you're going to get it. Suspend your disbelief. Just listen to me like you're listening to a movie. The world you live in, all around you, just ignore the fact that you're surrounded by walls. Ignore the fact that there's traffic outside. Ignore the fact that there's people in another room listening to me right now. As a matter of fact, there's people in another room watching this video right now. Ignore the Materium. I'm telling you now, this world is actually a field of manifold frequencies. And that everything that you're actually perceiving is nothing but frequency that has collapsed into experience. This is a field of frequencies. As a field of frequencies, I'm going to tell you also, this entire field that we call the world, this entire field is made up of thought. Some of those thoughts are ancient and they still carry power from the ancient times all the way into the future. Some of them are very recent. Most of them are right now, but it is a field of thought. Just like I've told you many times about Ishak Bentov's research, he shows you that thought is not contained in the brain. The brain is a receiver and a broadcaster. It is not a container. Ishak Bentov's research is brilliant, but he's not the only one to assert this. Thoughts are in the field. I've told you two things. This is a experience. Quit thinking of it as a world. The Materium, which is the physical expression of thought that has collapsed into experience. The Materium is frequencies, manifold frequencies. These frequencies are organized into thought. Whole entire thought constructs are existing independent of you. This is why two different souls in the construct at the exact same time can come up with the same invention, the same idea for a book, the same thoughts pass their mind. It's because they're receiving from the construct. They're already in the construct. They're in the field. They're flowing through the field, and your brain picks them up. If you're vibrating on a certain frequency, you're going to be tapped into that frequency. If there's 10,000 humans out of 7 billion that are all on a certain frequency, whatever the thoughts are on that certain frequency in the field are what those 10,000 people pick up. I've told you two things now. This experience, the Materium, is manifold frequencies organized into thought constructs that are not yours. They're not your neighbors. They're in the field, and we pick them up all the time. The third aspect of this experience is what it's made out of. Now, I'm not going to get all theological on you. I'm not going to get all spiritual. It is my personal opinion that the entire field is made up of God, the oversoul. The construct is a projection of some aspect of the oversoul, but it's not even important. That's not even important to understand what I'm conveying here. The field of frequencies that's organized into thought has subparticles. You can call them particles, you can call them waves, but they're neither. They're absolutely non-local in the field. Physicists, for want of a better description, because this isn't something I made up. But for want of a better description, call these potentia. Potentia seems to be the non-existent, non-local building blocks of our reality. And yet potentia is not there, and yet it is. Potentia is not there because it's non-local, and yet it can be tapped into because potentia collapses into experience when you've done certain things. So the world we're living in right now is manifold frequencies organized into thought constructs, and those thought constructs have activated potentia many times in order to make up the materium. Because everything that you see, feel, taste, touch, and smell that makes up the materium is the result of potentia that has collapsed into experience. This is the wave-particle duality phenomenon. It is entirely non-local. It is activated by thought, intention, and activity. The best way to understand it is realizing that every single thing in the room that you're listening to me in right now, and by extension, the city you're in, and by extension, the continent that you're on, and by extension, the whole material, everything that you can see, taste, smell, touch, and hear is the result of thought that has activated potentia, that collapsed spirit into matter for you to perceive, for you to enjoy, for you to experience, even though it's not really there. So, we're just scratching the surface right now, my friends. We're just scratching the surface. This is a field of manifold frequencies organized into thought constructs, and the substrate to it all is potentia. Little, tiny, non-existent, invisible pieces of the oversoul that actually collapse into our experience as souls passing through the materium once we have organized our thought and moved our avatar in activity toward any goal or any idea, any creative impulse. This entire world of experience is the direct result of previous souls thinking things into existence, and newer souls introduced into the construct are already a player in a game that's already been going on for a long period of time. This is a field of phenomena. The materium itself, all perceived physicality, is collapsed potentia. It remains as potentia. It's all around you right now. As you're listening to me right now, your entire field and the overfield is all saturated with potentia. Potentia is a term borrowed from particle physics. Potentia is the recognition from theoretical physicists that there's something in the field that literally creates ex nihilo the materium, the physical world. I'm telling you now, it's thought constructs. It remains non-local until it collapses into the materium. The collapse into the materium is called experience. The materium is completely the result of thought that has been realized and is now programming. That programming is in the field. The entire world of the construct is filled with things that were once thoughts. Process that for a minute. This entire world, this entire experience, history and the future, every bit of it Everything that we assume to be true, everything that we know to be true, were once just thoughts until they were collapsed into someone's experience. And once they collapsed into experience, they became a part of the materium, and it's still here. The materium endures until programming, a cache is cleared. We understand that as total systemic reset. From the inside of this experience, these resets are like cataclysms. But from the construct, these are clearing the cache, getting rid of fossilized programming. So this is a field of frequencies, of thoughts organized into constructs. It is saturated with potentia, which allows for a soul to be creative here. Fourth aspect is that this is a field of constants. It's a field of constants. You've heard of physics constants. Okay, well, phenomena in the Materium, all that everyone here, all the participants, all the souls flowing through the constructs are participants in the Materium. And there are certain things that we all agree to be true. This is very important to process. You throw a rock up in the sky, it's going to come down. We all agree it to be true. And those who want to disagree, and those who don't want to suspend their disbelief, and they want to sit here and try to argue if there's a high wind, then the rock may not come down. Or if a bird catches it, you always have those souls that want to be agitators. But that agitation is only tapping into other constants and other programming. There really are no exceptions to the rules. This is a field of constants. In being a field of constants, we agree that if we put our hand in an oven, it's going to be very painful. It's going to hurt. We all agree to this. We all agree. Well, I don't know if we all agree that there's two genders, male and female, but still, we all agree to many things, like the sky is blue, except when it's not blue. We all agree that the ocean is wet, that fire is hot. We all agree that snow is cold. We all agree that ice is nothing but frozen water or frozen liquid. So there are many core fundamentals about this experience that do not change for any participant. Every single participant here is governed by constants that never change. That's another aspect of the Materium that you need to take into consideration. This is a field of constants. Everything that a soul has done on its trajectory through the Materium, all the collapsed potentia caused by thought, activity, behavior, this potentia collapses into experience. The building blocks of the oversoulic construct collapse into the experience of the highly individualized soul, and the soul perceives all these things as physical. This is that soul's individual reality tunnel. That's what it is. A reality tunnel is a soul's passage through the Materium, and it is the direct result of what that individual soul has accepted to be true. This is why I say this a lot. This is why you and I can be living in the same world, but we're not existing in the same universe. That's a reality tunnel. The problem with passing through the Materium is that there's another phenomena, another series of protocols like constants that are operative in the Materium that are real hard to identify and escape. I'm talking about the feedback loops. A feedback loop is programming designed as phenomena. that leads a participant into circular programming, impeding development. The greatest example of the feedback loop. It's like a soul. It's like a soul's. It's like herding souls into certain niches. Is dungeon programming. This is something we discuss on this channel a lot. Dungeon programming is a very powerful feedback loop. Programmed constructs within the simulacrum, within the construct itself, that keeps multitudes of souls ensnared in reactive experience. It does. Dungeon programming only ensnares those souls who are passing through the Materium, but they are living a reactive experience. This is key to understanding the message today. We're going to get to this. Dungeon programming is specifically designed to maintain status quos. Dungeon programming's main purpose is to kill creativity, because that's exactly what it does. We always have to judge a phenomenon by its effect. When we do that, with all the different examples I've provided on my channel of dungeon programming, we see that the greatest effect of all the different examples of dungeon programming is that it literally kills creativity. And that every participant in those feedback loops of dungeon programming, like I use Baptist because I was raised, first 40 years of my life, I was a stringent Southern Baptist. You guys know my history. Most of my published books, and I've written many. I've got 13 books published, 14 books, something like that. I lose track. I've written 26. I know most of them were written from a Southern Baptist Christian perspective before I left that faith. But I use it as an example all the time. Christianity is dungeon programming. Catholicism is dungeon programming. Conservative, Republican, liberal, Democrat, it's all. Yeah, Marxism, it just doesn't matter. It's all dungeon programming. Dungeon programming is when a whole bunch of souls are all participating in the same events, the same belief structures. They're doing all of this because it saves the construct energy. The construct itself is subject to the law of conservation of energy. It is also subject to the law of diminishing returns. There are many of these constants that it's subject to. And when you break the construct and all the activity that's going on in the field that we perceive, it's very easy to identify what's happening. Dungeon programming ensnares souls in group activities because the group activities are then empowered. That programming is in perpetuity. It becomes a feedback loop because all the participants are doing the same things, believing the same things. And that feedback loop does not require additional programming. It doesn't require additional energy of the construct to be expended on creating reality tunnels because it's fusing everyone's reality tunnels. Why? Because this is a field of frequencies. And when souls are vibrating on the same frequency, they tap into that field. It requires no additional energy. The construct can keep all these souls in this little area right here, and their own activity fuels the feedback loop. So the construct itself can concentrate on the problems. I call us errants, highly individualized souls who are doing the opposite of a reactive experience. Let's get to that in just a second. So there's another aspect of this construct that we discuss in Archaix, and that's negative default programming. There's not a lot to talk about here, but the substrate of the constructual programming auto defaults to the negative, to a negative frequency. It's auto. It just automatically happens. When anything is left up to its own devices, there's a default to negativity. Even in human personalities, we often see the negative before we acknowledge the positive. Things have a tendency to decline in ethics and in morality, and it takes effort. It takes effort to actually do the right thing or do the good thing. This has everything to do with the constructual programming, another constant that we know of. It is the law of entropy, that all systems will break down, all systems will decline. So this is it's very common sense, the makeup of the construct, this experience that we're going in. But what these things mean for us takes on whole new meanings when we break them down. In order to pass through the whole materium, in order to experience the materium, we have to become one with it. This dichotomy is so hard for people to process. I say this a lot. Your avatar is not you. Your avatar belongs to the construct. But in order for you to experience this materium, you have to become one with it. The avatar, this body, is the soul's vehicle. It's connected to and interfacing with the simulacrum, the materium, while also moored to source. A highly individualized soul, in order to experience the materium, must become one with it. And it does that through an avatar. But equally true, one does not negate the other. Equally true, that highly individualized soul that is wearing that avatar is also moored to source. But source is not inside the materium. Remember, for something to be true, it doesn't necessarily mean that something else must be false. This is a multiverse, not a singularity. You're going to understand better as we go through. So what is source? Jason, you just mentioned source. Okay, you're more to source. Jason, I agree. Okay, my body belongs to the construct. I'm not my body. I'm inside this experience, so I have to wear this avatar to experience it. I get it. I'm on board. But you said also I'm more to source. Well, what is source? I'm going to tell you now, it's very simple. Source is the oversoul. It's the oversoul, completely separated from the materium and unconnected to all phenomena experienced inside the materium. This key fact is why ancient religions were so big on idolatry. There is nothing inside the physical experience that could ever truly describe God. There is no idols, there is no religious text, there is no faith, there is no philosophy, there is no metaphysics, there is nothing in the realm of experience which is confined to the materium that could ever even come close to being God or even describing God. We're talking about the oversoul, which is so vast that 10,000 different opinions about it can all be right. We're talking about something far beyond our finite ability at the present to even comprehend. And religions, every single one of them, are nothing but feeble, juvenile, amateurish attempts to describe that which is undescribable. So taking these things into consideration about our experience, the materium, the simulacrum, I call it a simulacrum because it is something that is a copy of something else. We don't quite know what that is. I believe that there are many, many constructs, and this is just one. Just one. This one right here is a bad mofo. This one right here is something serious. But it's just one of many that souls go through to acquire the things it needs to. This is a fundamental tenet of the Archaix research. I believe, and I'm always promoting, that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and in this experience we are to develop imagination, intuition, and empathy, three core spiritual qualities that separate us from everything else in the construct. So once we take these things in consideration, if you're still following me, if you're still suspending your disbelief, if you're still understanding that I'm talking about this is all manifold frequencies organized into thought constructs, and that the materium, what you feel physically, is merely thought constructs that have collapsed into experience. This wall has collapsed from mere thought by virtue of Potentia, the tiny microscopic non-local building blocks of the construct made out of the oversoul itself, because everything is just different modes of spirit. Everything. Therefore, this experience, all of this is just Potentia that has collapsed in the field to become what we know of as the Materium. That's what it is. So taking all these things into consideration, and that we have constants and we have protocols and we have feedback loops and dungeon programming and negative default programming, let's move forward and let's assume that you, my listener, are on board with everything that I have presented this far. Let's assume arguendo that you have received 100% of what I'm laying down and you accept it to be true. From this vantage point, let's continue our options in the Materium. What are our options? Jason, if all of this is true that you just laid out, and this is truly what we're inside of what we're experiencing right now, what does it mean for us? Okay, but in order for us to answer that question, we're going to have to understand what our options are. Assuming arguendo, everything I said is real and true. What are our options? So before I get into the options, because this is going to get deep, guys, you're going to listen. I was inspired when I put this itinerary together. I was absolutely inspired. I was going to go a different direction, and I'm telling you now, sometimes I have these spells. I've told you, I've explained to you guys. I start writing down stuff, and all of a sudden Spirit takes me in a new direction, opens my mind up, and I saw exactly how and what I needed to present. And I just restructured this whole, when I first posted this video, it was going to be something different. But source, the oversoul just takes over. You're receiving the business from something far greater than I. I say that all the time. None of my thoughts are my own. We're all affected by the field in different ways. This is what I've received since I posted this video. I'm gonna lay it down to you. It's very profound. Let me check my chat before we go on. We'll continue. All right, everything's still good. What would be awesome, I'm talking about totally awesome, is if Source had dear old dad give me a refill on my coffee. I mean, that would just be amazing. I mean, that would be cool. Because I'm out. All right, let's see here. Let's see. All right, cool. Let me get back into it. Am I going to be sharing my screen right now? I will be sharing my screen here in a minute. Not right now. So our options in the Materium, assuming arguendo, everything I said is true. The soul's experiences are potentia that have collapsed into Materium because of thought and actions. Just thoughts and actions. because actions are merely actualized thoughts. And actions modify behavior. And behavior is actions that are modified thought. So the soul's experiences are potentia that have collapsed into the materium because of thought and actions. Along this vein, these experiences are entirely governed by the phase of the soul. I'm telling you now, everything that I've told you, the whole materium, everything that we're experiencing is the result of two phases that you're always experiencing. Sometimes you're in one phase. Sometimes you're in the other phase. But this entire construct and everything in it is the result of souls that are phasing back and forth between these two phenomena. I'm going to share what that phenomena is. Souls phase between the highly individualized mode when they are strongest in their mooring to source, or souls have descended into a frequency of the collective. It's a very powerful frequency inside the materium. That's why so many people are resonating on it. But there's only two phases. There is no third option. You're either a highly individualized soul, guided, receiving, moored to source, a free thinker, someone who is completely not in resonance with the collective. Or, hey, Pops, how you doing? Thank you. Thank you. I like the coffee pot there. Is that Tyvek? Is that a
Pyrex?
Is that a Pyrex?
Yeah, I see that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Y'all can hear pretty good in there?
Yeah, not bad.
All right, cool. Cool.
Next time I'll have this cleaned up for you.
Oh, it's okay. My life's a mess too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only two phases. Taking all this information into consideration, that this is a field of frequencies organized into thought constructs that collapse into experience by virtue of potentia, which is a part of, like, you could call it the God particle, whatever. But the souls participating in the materium are the builders of the materium. And how do they build the materium? They only do it through two ways. They either continue all of its perpetuity programming by virtue of resonating on the frequency of the collective, experiencing feedback loops of dungeon programming, or they're in the other phase, the only other phase, the highly individualized soul. It is a small piece of the oversoul that is inside. It's you. Your personality is merely a fractal of a greater, eternal, immortal personality that is experiencing all of this through and with you. You're in one of those two phases. Now, it's really a mode. You're either in one mode, the collective, or you're in the highly individualized super soul state. Those are the only two choices you have here. It's only two choices it's only two things you've ever experienced your entire life. Only two things. These are modes. Which mode you're in is strictly dependent. Please pay attention to this. Which mode you are in is strictly dependent on how the soul sees itself in the materium. Which mode, the highly individualized soul or a member of the collective experiencing all the collective programming, which are feedback loops, which are dungeon programming, which are blind, lost, totally out of the loop. You're either one of them, or the mode you're in is the immortal within, inside the construct. The immortal within, highly individualized soul moored to source. Which one you're in is entirely dependent on how you see yourself. Who do you believe yourself to be? Because whoever you believe yourself to be will automatically translate in the collapse of potentia into experience and create behavioral patterns that reflect what you believe yourself to be. How a soul sees itself determines the soul's engagement with the materium. I'm going to repeat that. How a soul sees itself will always determine that soul's engagement with the material world. Reality, the materium. We can call reality the materium, they're one and the same to us. Reality will always respond to you in the precise proportion to the way you perceive yourself. It's a reflective medium. This is what it does. Potentia around you collapses into localized phenomena that you experience as the world in direct proportion to the image that you have of yourself in your mind. This talk today, guys, is going to change everything for you, I promise. Follow me. We're not done. Follow me. You got to follow me in this suspension of disbelief. When we get to the end of this tunnel today, you're going to understand how every bit of this is so simple. It's how a guy with an 8th grade education wrote 26 books. A guy who failed math twice and got F's is now a master of calendrics, showing arithmetic and patterns in history that cannot be true. Hundreds and hundreds of amazing mathematical patterns showing the artificial reality of history. And yet it's all there, source-backed, packed with bibliographic citations. And I always follow my own tenet. If something is true, it will be seen from multiple different vantage points. I'm always saying that, and I'm always backing up my research by showing you everything that I teach from multiple different mathematical vantage points. History, calendrics, you're going to see here, it does not obtain, not to the highly individualized soul, but it does to the collective. You're going to see what side of Archaix you're on by the end of this video. Because remember, Archaix, advanced research of chronological history of artificial intelligence X. Mind explosions are coming in this video, guys. What mode that you're in is always determined. Are you a highly individualized soul, a co-creator here, experiencing the all, everything you could ever experience in life? Are you that individual, or are you a member of the collective undergoing collective programming and living in a life completely subjected to the reality tunnels built by others? Is that you? Which one you are is always dependent upon your mode, and your mode is dependent upon how you see yourself. How a soul sees itself determines the soul's engagement with the materium. Reality will always respond to you in the precise proportion of the way you perceive yourself. I cannot stress that more important. I can't stress it. Like I said, it's how a kid with an 8th grade education who at 17 years old effed up bad and went to prison. And then in prison effed up bad multiple times and went to maximum security. And then in maximum security effed up bad and went to the dungeon multiple times. Then went to administrative cell restriction, administrative segregation, closed custody. Yeah, guys, I did it all. 17-year-old kid with an 8th grade education went to Texas prison, wrote over 20 books, secured 4 publishing contracts while a convicted felon still in prison. with a publisher who has never even done business with felons ever before and hasn't since. How you see yourself is how the construct will engage with you. How I saw myself was totally different than how other prisoners saw me, how prison guards saw me. My dad's in the other room and he didn't even see me as the person I saw myself. The man saved all my research from prison. You know the story, I've told you. But he didn't save it because he believed I was going to become the person I've become today. He saved it because it was a familial obligation. It was something he wanted to do for his son, and he gave me his word. And every time he visited me, I gave him that bag of research, all my notes, and I always felt like something was being ripped away from me because I'd spent 6 months to a year putting that whole bag together. And he would visit, and I would give that bag to him, and I'll always wonder, am I ever going to see all my research again? And then when I got out of prison after 26 years, I got more time. I got stacked sentences while I was in prison. Get this, they gave me 7 years for a cell phone. I don't want to tell you all the stories. You guys know. But I got out after 26 years at 43 years old, 8 years ago. And I got that research back. That man had kept every one of those. Do you know why? Do you know why it happened? Because the construct will engage with me in the exact manner how I see myself. And I saw myself as educating the public for the rest of my life on things they would have never come into contact with because they had not been in that prison cell reading, redacting, rewriting, editing, rewriting, editing over and over and over again my notes, putting them in order. Because I knew the public had family obligations, hobbies, had to commute to work, had to get back home, working 40 to 60 hours a week, families to raise, all kinds of things. I didn't. And I took advantage of that. And I spent my entire life educating myself. And the construct has engaged with me in direct proportion to how I saw myself. Physical reality manifests the thoughts we hold into attracting to us people, places, events, reflecting our own self-created patterns, how we see ourselves. Let's break that down. The Materium will bring into contact with you the thoughts we hold, the people, places, and events, which are experiences in the construct. It will bring these things to you in proportion to how you see yourself. A basketball player is no different than other basketball players. Some of them have more talent than others, but a basketball player that sees himself as a superstar does heroic things on the court, and we're all amazed. A man who sees himself as a purveyor of the secrets of the world, somebody able to go through even mundane material and mine revelations out of it, will start a channel called Archaix and do just that, because the Materium continues to bring that individual more and more data to share, because it's giving me exactly what I see myself doing. So it provides those things. This is a key fundamental tenet of the architecture of our reality, this interface between the highly individualized soul and the Materium. This engagement is strictly reduced to two soul phenomena. Remember, I told you there's two, it's bifurcated. Your existence here is bifurcated. You phase back and forth. Sometimes you're a highly individualized soul. Sometimes you're a member of the collective. We've all participated in both. But these modes are entirely dependent on how you perceive yourself to be. Who do you think you are? because you're wearing part of the construct. But if you believe certain things about this avatar and all the attachments that are all the things attached to this avatar, culture, race, business, friends, circles, influences, if you have certain beliefs about the character you're playing, then the Materium will create the stage for that character. If you have certain beliefs about the character you're playing, the Materium will manifest the stage for that character to shine. It's bifurcated existence. But that bifurcation has another dichotomy. And this is where it gets really magical. You're either a highly individualized soul, or you're either a member of the collective. And which one you are, which one is entirely dependent on how you see yourself. So how you see yourself has two results. Only two. How you see yourself has two results for you as a soul experiencing this Materium. You are either, because there's no in between, you are either living a reactive existence, absorbing phenomena from the field, and then modifying your behavior to comport with that phenomena, meaning you're a member of the collective, you're a slave. There's nothing creative about you. You have completely wasted the divine spark. Or you're proactive. And you can't be proactive unless you see yourself to be something more than you actually are, or at least what the world perceives you to be. You're either proactive or reactive. There is no in between. And which one you are is a direct result of how you see yourself. And being proactive or reactive completely defines your experience. If you're a highly individualized soul, a co-creator with the oversoul, in a relationship with source, able to draw from yourself more than you even contain because it's not in the material. Creativity comes from beyond the physical world. But it doesn't come from an external source. It doesn't come from anywhere else. It comes from the immortal within. You draw the creativity out of yourself because it comes from source. You are a piece of the divine. Your belief that you're a piece of the divine is also very connected to how you perceive yourself, and how you perceive yourself instructs the Materium on what stage to let this character play out on. You are building your own stage. And you can never blame the collective, and you can never blame the construct, and you sure as hell can never blame source when everything has been given to you from the beginning. So we're not done, because right now in this video, as you're listening to me, you can rewrite your own programming. You can completely phase out of the collective before the end of this video's trailer, and you can start living an entirely new existence, interfacing with the Materium in ways you've never dreamed of before. It can all happen right here in this video. It can all happen right here by the end of the video as I'm doing the trailer. The Materium is going to create a stage for whatever character you believe yourself to be. So, what do you do? What do you do when you find that you don't like the stage that you're playing on? All the world's a stage, but you don't like your stage, but you built it. Now, we're going to go into some really interesting material on how to undo the things that you're not happy with. But the greatest of all creative acts, there is no greater creative act of the highly individualized soul, because it is, remember, there's a phenomenon. Vegas hates it. Las Vegas casinos hate this phenomenon, and they're trained. Floor bosses are trained to watch for it. But when somebody has never been to Vegas, it's a new stage. When that person's soul is vibrating on such an endorphins and this, they're vibrating at a level that they haven't vibrated on in their life, and this excitement is within their soul. That's real dangerous for the casinos, because excitement is a spiritual phenomenon. To be so excited actually alters the field around you. Excitement also modifies random number generators. This has been proven more than once. Floor bosses are known. The first time somebody comes in there and plays blackjack, and they really don't even know how, but they just get the cards. Everything is going right for them because they're vibrating on that frequency. And they win a little bit, and they get even more excited and win more and more. And next thing you know, you think it's random that they put this drop-dead gorgeous woman right next to you. And then that's a distraction, especially when she starts flirting with you. And then someone else comes and gives you a free drink. Here, what would you like, sir? The interruption alone creates an interference pattern. Just interrupting you, asking you what you want to drink, then bringing you the free drink also adds to that interference pattern. These things are done. Yeah, when you've won a lot of money, they'll comp you a room. Why? It all introduces interference patterns, interfering with the field that you created. You can create these fields in everyday life, not just Vegas. When every decision you make, even if you're doing the wrong thing according to technique, according to the rules, it still turns out in the right way. Remember the Chinese adage, when the right man makes use of the wrong means still work in the right way. The highly individualized soul can draw from itself the potentia that will override anything in the field that the collective are enslaved to. The highly individualized soul can make their own world within a world, and even build a world that others can enjoy. The highly individualized soul can go their own way and be immune from everything that afflicts the collective. This is a world of frequencies, and how you perceive yourself to be will always govern what frequencies your soul is vibrating on. And what frequencies your soul is vibrating on will always determine the stage that the Materium builds for you. If you think you're a magician, you'll be performing magic. The singular act that someone in the collective can do. Remember, that's my mantra: break free or die trying. That is what I've been saying on my channel since its inception. Break free or die trying. The one act that anybody who has been enslaved to dungeon programming all their entire life, meaning they've only become accustomed to living on the slave stage. The reactive, every single thing you've experienced in your life is because you reacted to external stimuli. The Materium created stages for you that kept you in dungeon programming because you regarded yourself as a slave. Hint: keep thinking that this is a soul trap, and I promise you, your soul will be trapped. The Materium will always reflect back as circumstances in direct proportion of how you perceive yourself to be. If you think that you're a victim, you will stay one. But the one thing that anyone who has been a slave all their life can do to completely break free of dungeon programming is breaking pattern. This is a construct of frequencies that are organized into thought constructs that collapse into potentia, creating the materium, which is organized into protocols and constants that we all agree to. We're all participants. And then inside the materium, everybody is an actor wearing a costume, and whatever the costume is emanating, the stage is made by the construct for that character to play their role. This is what you're experiencing. But when an actor breaks pattern from something it's doing, all the potentia in the field is activated and charged, waiting for the new thought construct, because this materium loves nothing more than to build something new. I've said this in many presentations in the past. New innovative ideas and inventions are charged potentia. A slave all their life can decide not to be playing on that stage and just break pattern. Jason, how do I break pattern? That solely depends on what enslavement you've been experiencing. I don't know your personal circumstances, but if you've been doing the same thing for years and years and years, then doing something different is a total pattern break. But the charged potentia in your field is now waiting for new commands. What are those new commands? It's whatever you think yourself to be. If you have now changed your identity in the field, the materium will reciprocate and provide you a new stage. But you've got to walk out onto that stage to collapse the potentia which has been charged in order for you to create new experiences for you. It's very easy. But if you're going to speak to the construct, you have to speak by language it understands. And the only language it understands is reading you. How you perceive yourself to be is how the materium is going to build your stage. It's going to let you live it. It's going to let you do it. And if you've been a slave all your life, you've got to break pattern. That how to break pattern is for you to decide. But I will say this, I am willing, if you guys tell me in the comment box, I am willing to do a follow-up video to this and do nothing but pull people onto the screen with me to tell me whatever dungeon programming they've been a slave to. If you're willing to open up your heart to my community and tell my community, look, man, this is what I accepted to be true and this is what it did to my life. If you're willing to do that, then I'm going to listen to you, and in front of the entire public, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to break pattern. I don't know your circumstances, but I will if you tell me. I'll do another video, and we'll just do nothing but example after example after example after example of you guys telling me what it is that enslaved you, and I'm going to tell you how to break free. That's a whole other video, though. We're not done here. I'll look back at the chat later on. I can't look at it right now. So breaking pattern is the single greatest of all creative acts. A highly individualized soul that's already been on the stage of creation, playing the co-creator relationship with source, drawing from himself or herself more than she contains because it's coming from an unlimited supply. That individual is already in tune and already doing things. But that individual can't do what the slave can do by breaking pattern, because breaking pattern gets the attention of the entire materium. The entire construct is now paying attention, which means the potentia is charged. Charged potentia isn't ordinary. This is what I was describing with the Vegas scenario. When somebody does something new, never been to Vegas before, they start gambling, they win a little bit, they get super excited, now they can't lose. And the floor bosses are trained to see this. They're trained to see this and disrupt that programming, disrupt that pattern. Someone who's been a slave all their life, if they break pattern, it's what they decide to do in that pattern break period that sets the next stage. Don't neutralize it. Don't break pattern and then turn around and fall back into the same into another feedback loop, a totally different type of dungeon programming, and think you've changed. This is what most people do. They think breaking pattern is getting out of one belief system, but they abandon one set of lies to adopt another. That's still, if you're going to go from one feedback loop to another feedback loop, the Materium will think that that's what you want. And no stage for you will be built except the reactive stage of the collective that you're enjoying. When you break pattern, the Potentia is charged, waiting for new instructions to build a whole new stage for you, changing your whole costume, changing your avatar, changing everything. You guys know, you can think of examples of people in your life who have made changes to their life that were so drastic, it even changed their physical appearance. You know people who have changed, their whole physical avatar changed because of the new lifestyle. The Materium will reciprocate. Remember, in early 20th century, around 1901, 1902, Ernest Holmes wrote, "We receive not what we want, but what we are. We receive not what we want, but what we are." Remember, 100 million prayers to end cancer has only created a cancer culture. We receive not what we want, but what we are. Translated another way, the Materium that you're immersed in will always reflect back as circumstances and experiences exactly what you perceive yourself to be. True prayer consists not in words, but in actions. That's Franz Boas, 1880s. Franz Boas said true prayer consists not in words, but in actions. Why? Because the construct does not respond to vocabulary. It doesn't respond to speaking. The construct doesn't respond to anything. Because why? Because humans have been lying since humans entered the construct. If the construct responded to everything that a person said, there would be no order in here. There would be no constant. It would be a maelstrom. It would be so amorphous it would all fall apart. It wouldn't be an enjoyable experience. The construct does not pay attention to what you say. It does not care. It's not the language that it understands. It understands frequency. And how you perceive yourself to be puts you on a certain frequency. And the Materium, just very simply, creates a stage for you to be who you want to be on that frequency. Now, Franz Boas, 1880s, he also wrote, "True faith is not conceived and known. It is lived and enacted." True faith is not conceived and known. It is lived and enacted. That's Franz Boas, 1880. Balthasar Gracian, what is it? I don't know, over like 900 years ago, something like that. Balthasar Gracian wrote, "Act as though you are, and you will be." Act as though you are, and you will be. This was written by a man almost 1,000 years ago, Balthasar Gracian. Others, like occult maxims, our assumptions of truth become the truth. Why? Because however you perceive yourself to be, that you will become, because the Materium will build for you a stage that is commensurate with the actor that you've chosen to play. Attitude will always influence outcomes. Why? Because you can't have an attitude unless you believe something. If you have a positive attitude about a certain outcome, it's because you believe yourself to be in a certain way. Therefore, Therefore, the end result is no one to blame but you. The Materium is only reflecting back to you in direct proportion. It is giving you experiences that are commensurate with how you see yourself to be. And how you see yourself to be will always be reflected in your attitudes. Also, do not, I believe this is Charles Haynel, do not merely think you are, know you are. That might have been James Allen. I can't remember. Do not merely think you are, know you are. So this leads us to another echelon of understanding here. If you followed me this far, now you need to understand our engagement with the Materium. This is the stuff. If you follow me this far, this right here is getting really close to you graduating this thought process. Our engagement with the Materium. I don't even know how long I've been talking, man. Well, let me check my chat before we start this next section, because I don't want any interruptions. All right. Okay. 1 hour, 30 minutes is pretty good time. Pretty good time. Let's do it. Yeah, if you guys want, I'll PDF this and I'll put it on Potentia for free. Let's see. Engagement with the Materium. I'm gonna share my screen. I want to share these. I want to share these. I got 2 quotes I want to share before we discuss it. Let's see. All right. So you guys can see that. Let's see. Yeah, engagement with the Materium. So this is from a book called The Hidden Power, page 144. In giving way to thoughts and fears of evil, we are giving substance to that which has no real substance in itself, and are attributing to the negative an affirmative force which it does not possess. In fact, we are creating the very thing we fear. Kind of puts into perspective what the news, what mainstream media and the news does to us every day. Now, let's see here. Get over here. So, to use mental force or willpower is to presuppose that there is opposition. But the act of imagining opposition creates opposition. This is from a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, page 112 and 13. And another good quote that I read years ago is, worrying is soul suicide. That's the path of prosperity. Let's see here. I'm gonna try to get that down. So rage and hatred toward an individual has no effect on the abhorred person. This spiritual energy has no focus, no intent. Mere thought, unsupported by actions, is absorbed into the universal medium and diffused in negative ways elsewhere. Only some negative phenomena reflected back at the thinker. Imagine what mainstream media news is doing. Imagine believing that your political hero has been oppressed has been all kinds of things for a long period of time, and finally he gets his day and he comes back. Imagine a scenario where your political hero has made all these promises and come to find out when he returns, not only does he not make good on some of those promises, but some of the new things he's doing are no different than his political adversary that we supposed was basically the opposite of who we held as a hero. So imagine a scenario that we find, and then this scenario is really specifically designed for us to lose complete faith in the system itself and to be angry. It is specifically designed like thousands of other news items, where the news conveys things, but also gives enough hints out at how arbitrary and how unfair and how iniquitous something is and how it could have been avoided. We're given all the information, but it's not designed to educate us as to what's going on in the world. It's designed to create energy in the negative that can't be expended by those who are experiencing it. And the field takes that emotional charge and basically dissipates it into different directions that manifest in the field elsewhere, creating discord, anger, chaos, and pain to other individuals who weren't even experiencing those emotions. This is what mainstream media does to us all the time. This is why things are reported the way they are. It is to induce rage and exasperation and futility. Because a population that is raised to a certain emotional crescendo and then nothing ever happens because they don't take action, that emotional charge does not disappear. It is used elsewhere. Matter of fact, on the same token, I just did a video with Michelle Gibson, and in that video, this is what we discussed about the energy that is brought up in these sporting events and these coliseums. Same thing in ancient Rome. This energy, the construct uses them. They have a really interesting theory that the construct cities, the layout of cities and coliseums and all that's laid out like a computer motherboard, a circuit board. And I don't disagree, because this is a construct, and a construct is always going to be built geometrically on a flat plane. And from that flat plane, all curvature is then programmed into it. So yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. Stop sharing. All right. So yeah, that was an interesting one. So the news creates the power for dungeon programming. Now, I don't really like The Secret by a man. I think her name is Rhonda Byrne. I don't like The Secret. I think it has elements that are missing, and they kind of wash over certain things, and they concentrate on aspects of the law of attraction that don't really need to be. I think it's simpler than what they're conveying, but it's a good book though. It's a good self-help book. But in my opinion, the only people like this dude Elmer Lockyer, I just did a post about. I was really surprised. It's such a rare name, Elmer O. Lockyer Jr. How many other Elmer O. Lockyer Jr.'s you're ever going to find? Because I found one, and he's a totally different guy with the exact same name. He came up missing in 1989. A friend of mine found him online. So I'm going to tell you now, that's very unusual because it's such an unusual name. It's a terribly unusual name. And yet, that individual that came up missing in 1989 with this very unique name is also a collector of luxury sports cars. The same thing as this AI-looking channel that I found, Elmer O. Lockyer Jr. He brags over and over and over that he is a collector of luxury sports cars. And yet they're totally different people. I show the pictures, the mugshot of one, and then the guy, and that's why I have a feeling, that's why I'm trying to contact this guy. His email's not public. Most YouTubers, their email's public. His email's not public. So I can't find out who he is, but I want to find out who's behind this channel because the videos look very AI-ish to me. And I'm particularly interested because he has 433,000 subs. And yet he started his channel 2 years after I started my channel. So trying to figure out how's it possible? How did I never see you before? Where did you come from? The reason it's particularly interesting to me is because Archaix is about simulation theory, and I've got many presentations on how we use that information to create our own experiences. And yet his whole channel is based off Neville Goddard, who was really popular 10 years ago, 5 years ago. But still, his whole channel is about bridging simulation theory with law of attraction. That's what he said his channel's about. So how did he stay off my radar all this time? And how did he get 1,200 videos in 3 years? And how did I just can't? It's mad. 65 million views. It's just none of that's adding up to me. Why has this guy not been on multiple channels explaining his success? Why has somebody not interviewed this guy and said, dude, you're a phenomenon. You may have broken all the YouTube records. How did you do this? How come this guy is unknown? There isn't anybody who can answer any questions about it. And the only thing I can get in the comments sections are people who bought the programming. What I mean is there's a backstory given to this guy that he is some way connected to Neville Goddard. But I can't find anybody who can verify that backstory. It's just a backstory. The reason this is of interest to me is because YouTube has already made it known that they have AI channels out there. Well, YouTube would love nothing more than to not pay content creators and to use their material hijacked through ChatGPT and re-upload it as their own and just remove the content creator and just have the AI. Why? Because Fortune 500 companies pay a lot of money to YouTube to run ads on there. Archaix doesn't allow ads on the videos. If you see ads in the middle of my videos, it's because YouTube micromanaged the video and found some type of copyright deal in there and then hijacked the video. This is how they do it. They've done many of my videos have been hijacked that way. So YouTube has a vested interest to find problems in certain people's videos, while at the same time release AI channels, making the public believe these are real individuals with real messages. Yeah, that's why it's interesting to me. I may be wrong about Elmer O. Lockyer Jr. He may be a real guy, but until I get to talk to him, I don't believe it. His channel looks like AI to me. So I went up. Hey, I did pretty good. I did pretty good today. I haven't gone on tangents. I'm known for my tangents, but today that was my first tangent. So, The Secrecy by Rhonda Byrne. She has a quote in there. You cannot help the world by focusing on the negative things. As you focus on the world's negative events, you not only add to them, but you also bring more negative things into your own life. Amen. That's one thing I can take from The Secret. That's really good. Oh, we're not done, guys. We have solutions. We have things to do here. I need to share my screen again. I can't read this one to you. I got to show it to you. Oh, why do I keep hitting video file? Let me hit share my screen. There we go. All right. Let's see here. So whose quote is this? Whose quote is this right here? All right. So, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to go too much longer. Thank you. Dad's in here filling up my tank. If our thought possesses this creative power, why are we hampered by adverse conditions? The answer is because hitherto we have used our power inadvertently. We have taken the starting point of our thought from external facts and consequently created a repetition of facts of a similar nature, feedback loop. And so long as we do this, we must needs go on perpetuating that old cycle or circle of limitation. This is from 100 years ago. This is the Dore Lectures on Mental Science, page 51. There is a profound secret in this paragraph that is the key to breaking free. If our thought possesses this creative power, why are we hampered by adverse conditions? The answer is because hitherto we have used our power inadvertently. We have taken the starting point of our thought from external facts and consequently created a repetition of facts. We have taken the starting point of our creativity as whatever is in the materium already existing. It's key to understand this. It's paramount that you get what I'm laying down. The problem people have with breaking free out of the circle of limitation, as said right here, the problem people have is they are thinking about breaking pattern from the perspective of what they already accept to be true in the materium, in the construct. Remember, I've told you guys so many times, we are not limited by precedent. Precedent is what's already preceded. It's already collapsed from Potentia into the field as experience. That experience means it's in the materium now. It's part of our physical experience here. But we can't solve a problem by using the architecture of the problem itself. Breaking free is about creating something totally new and completely ignoring precedents. What I mean by precedents is you listen, let's say your problem is financial, because that's going to be most people's. At least that's what they think. Let's say your problem is financial. So consciously creating circumstances, trying to break free from a stage where money has been scarce. But you're going to continue to play the actor who has no money. You're going to continue to play a part that communicates to the field that you have no money. Therefore, tomorrow's stage that is laid out for you is a stage for an actor who has no money. You can't break free out of a feedback loop if you're still entertaining anything that was within that made up the architecture of that feedback loop. You can't do it. Let me explain more. As long as we think that opposition exists, we are blocking the way. As long as we think that opposition exists, opposition will appear. The highly individualized soul starts with the immortal within. What does that mean, Jason? It starts with the immortal within. It means the here and the eternal now is the starting point, and the past does not obtain. Why? Because the past is not a predicate for the future. The Materium never considers the past unless the actor introduces the programming of the past into the builder protocol, into what that actor is trying to accomplish. If the actor inside the Materium thinks that the past has any power over how events should unfold, then the stage for tomorrow is going to be in proportion to the belief of the actor, and certain events are going to have to unfold in order for that actor to exit that stage. This is a reflective medium. The communication is what you do. What you do is based off what you believe. The construct is watching you. It's watching your avatar. It's watching the actor. It cannot build a stage for you that is different than the act that you're performing. So, to break out of that mindset, we need some examples. We need some more information for you to understand that the eternal now is where everything is created, and that the circle of limitation is imposed by you because it's what you've been trained to believe. You've been trained to believe that the present is attached to the past. That's dungeon programming. That's the greatest feedback loop of all. Precedent and the past are dungeon programming. I'm going to read these to you. Time does not exist means it too is a part of Potentia. Meaning, what is Potentia? It is non-local. What is non-locality? It is a quantum principle. That quantum principle basically teaches us that the physical experience is a direct result of collapsing particles that are observed. Once the actor on his stage recognizes something to be true, the stage makes it true. Potentia is collapsed into experience. It is totally independent of existing conditions and can originate new conditions out of nothing. Ex nihilo. There's two modes here. You are either proactive or reactive. You are either a highly individualized soul, meaning you have all access to the creative ability of the eternal now, or you deny that inheritance and you're a member of the collective doing everything the collective has. It doesn't mean you have a bad life. It just means that you're not a co-creator. It just means that you are living a reactive life. You are stuck in dungeon programming. Your dungeon programming might be attractive, but it's a feedback loop. It's your world. It's the world that you built for yourself. It's your stage. You're steady walking on it. You're walking in a circle on your stage because you like to. This is what the Materium believes. It believes you like to. Why? Because you keep doing it. You're still walking in a circle. As long as your avatar is continuing to do a certain behavior, the Materium will interpret that as what that avatar wants to do. The reason the Materium will always believe that your behavior is exactly what you want to be doing is because the Materium recognizes one core fundamental about the oversoul, and it's that it's eternal and it has free will. And by extension, every piece of the oversoul, even a highly fractalized individual immortal soul, which is moored to source, has free will. So the Materium recognizes the divinity that you are, even if you don't recognize it yourself. And it will obey you. How does it obey you? Not by anything you say, because that's not the type of communication it comprehends. This reactive medium, the simulacrum, this construct will always reflect back as circumstances that you experience in direct proportion to how you see yourself. This is why someone who is engaging in a certain activity always has those type of people and situations around them all the time. And this is why someone who lives in a totally different world, it has a different belief structure, has no idea this type of world over here even exists. It's so alien to them. The Materium knows that you're a piece of source, and it's here to obey you. And its obedience is merely reflecting back to you whatever you're doing with your avatar. And whatever you're doing with your avatar is in direct proportion to how you see yourself. And how you see yourself is always, always the result of what mode you're in. Are you being reactive, experiencing dungeon programming, living through a world of reality tunnels that are built by others? Or are you being proactive, flowing through the Materium, creating your own world and affecting the worlds of others? It's only two options you have. And reflecting reality back to us in the form of conditions, it is in no way limited by precedent. The very fact that you think that there is some type of opposition to what it is you want to do, the Materium must create that opposition because you believed it, and your belief is reflected in your behavior, and your behavior is evident by what you do with your avatar. That is received as communication, and it is reflected back. And the stage built for you is a stage that is fraught with opposition to what it is you truly want. We must never make the world of phenomena a starting point in the creative process, for this will only replicate what has already collapsed into experience. We must never make the world of phenomena a starting point, the eternal now, in the creative process. For this will only replicate what already collapsed into experience. What is the Materium? It is Potentia that has already been actualized. It is the dreams. It is the activity of other souls that have already played co-creator, and they built everything that you're experiencing, all this world. But if you want to be a co-creator, you can never start with the world of phenomena. Why? What I tell you in the beginning of this video, the entire world of phenomena, every bit of this, is the result of thought. It wasn't your thought. It was the thoughts of souls that came before you. Everything, every architectural feature, every design, the making of glass, whoever came up with hoodies, every single thing in the Materium was first a thought. And then charged Potentia collapsed that thought into experience, making them, selling them, wearing them. But if you take your starting point from the physical reality, then what is already true in physical reality are the restrictions you have already imposed on your own creativity. We must never take the world of phenomena as a starting point. Jason, what does that mean? I don't understand. Well, be patient, because that's where we're going. If our thought possesses this creative power, why are we hampered by adverse conditions? The answer is, we've already been through this, I'm not reading it again. The answer is because hitherto we have used our power inadvertently. We have taken the starting point of our thought from external facts and consequently created a repetition of facts of a similar nature. And so long as we do this, we must needs go on perpetuating the old circle of limitation. The Dore Lectures on Mental Science, that quote needed to be said again before we continue. Dungeon programming is operative all throughout the field. If you begin your creative process from the vantage point of an experiencer of dungeon programming, you literally neutralize everything you're putting into the field. There is no place for the consideration of outward conditions, whether of body or circumstance, for they are only effects and not the cause. This is the Dore Lectures on Mental Science. There is no place for the consideration of outward conditions, whether of body or circumstance, for they are only effects and not the cause. What is an effect? An effect is collapsed potentia. What is collapsed potentia? It is something that someone else already thought, and it manifested in the materium. And now that it is a part of the materium, it is a part of the conditions of your reality. But if you're going to be a co-creator, you can't start from the position of anything that is conditioned within your reality. If you believe absolutely that you can do a certain thing, the way will always be open for you to do it. Remember, the stage will be put out there for you. If you're being an actor, if you're changing your costume and you're going to do something new in your life, then the stage will be built for you to accomplish that. If you believe absolutely that you can do a certain thing, the way will always be open for you to do it. If you believe that time will have to elapse, then you are making that a law. And time will have to elapse. Creative mind and success. Because thought is the start of all things, the past is totally inconsequential. It's inconsequential. So we're at 2 hours, and I'm about to sum it up. Well, I'm not summing up, I'm going to conclude. I got another section to share with you. So, the world you live in is one of frequencies made up of thought constructs of innumerous participating souls that collapse into potentia. That potentia collapses into experience and phenomena that's all in the field. The field is the world. It is the physical world. The communication between the construct and you is by your activity, because your activity shows what mode you're in. The collective dungeon programming or the co-creator relationship. So I told you this at the end, that this is going to be very simple. There is nothing complex about what I'm telling you. The secret to the eternal now, the immortal within, the ability to create a whole new dynamic in your life, the ability to have the Materium build for you a new stage. You have to go within. Remember, the kingdom of God is within you. Yeah, you can't take that away from Jesus. Jesus said that. Now, whether Jesus was historical or literal, yeah, that's another debate. It's one I'm willing to make. But it's profound in implications. The kingdom of God is within you. Nowhere else in the exterior world, nowhere in the world could you find the kingdom of God, true spirituality. It is only within. The co-creator relationship is only within. There is nothing in physicality whatsoever that can help you in the co-creator relationship. Nothing. To change anything, we have to go within. And when we internalize, when we go within, we emit a totally new signal. What does a new signal do? Oh, it gets the attention of the Materium. Potentia is charged. So we have to understand that every single thing we could ever want, not just in the Materium, but as far as experiences, the things that we want to experience, the people we want to experience, the conversations we want to experience, the phenomena, the activities, everything we could ever want to experience is already in the field. It's either been actualized by someone else and it's in the field available to you right now, or it's in the field of Potentia, which means it's accessible to you also. Everything. There's nothing you could possibly imagine that's not already available to you in some way. So sometimes I call the Materium the holosphere. But the holosphere, it manipulates forces that we cannot even fathom. It moves people, events, and circumstances, bringing things from the most unexpected sources. If you're going to create a new world and a new life for you, the worst thing you could ever do is drag anything from the world of phenomena into it. And what I mean is to put dictates and strictures on what you want to come to pass, because you totally restrict the construct's ability to do it better and faster than you would have ever imagined. This is why most people never get what they really want. When they break pattern, they literally default right back into another feedback loop of a different vintage. You can't put restrictions on the creativity. If you want to live a certain life, start living that life. But if you want to live a certain life and you put restrictions such as, well, I know it's going to take me 6 months to do this. I know that I'm probably going to need a new wardrobe. I can't do that without a new wardrobe. So I'm going to have to make this money right here so I can buy this new wardrobe. It's going to take me about 6 months to do that. You just imposed 3 different restrictions on the construct. You have killed creativity. The construct does not care because it's limitless. In the eternal now, all these things already exist for you. But because you're a co-creator, you literally told the construct, don't need these things to come to pass for another 6 months. They don't need to come to pass until I made enough money to buy these clothes. These clothes need to be purchased first before any of this could come to pass. You've literally created. So what those restrictions did was they communicated to the construct that these things need to come to pass before it can even build that stage for you. And because in the next 6 months, you're going to start feeling anxiety because it's been so long since you put these things into the field, and now you don't believe they're ever going to happen. Therefore, that new anxiety is a frequency. The construct's only obeying you. It's not working against you. It's obeying you because you're the soul that put these into the field. But now other souls get to enjoy these things because you created all these constraints. And then you couldn't even live up to your own constraints. And now you feel anxious. Anxiety is an energy. That energy is going to have you modify your behavior. Your behavior is going to have your avatar doing certain things. It's going to be read by the field. The field itself, the Materium, is going to create all kinds of impediments and more evidence that you're never going to get what you were wanting. It's going to create those things for you because it's doing what you want. From the Materium's perspective, it reads your energy. Your energy is always communicating to the field, and your energy is always going to be matching what your avatar is doing. It's reading you, and it's giving you back what it thinks you want. Why does it think you want it? Because you're a highly individualized, immortal soul with free will. And it's not the Materium's fault that you forgot who you are. It's not the Materium's fault that you're not even enjoying your inheritance. You're not being a co-creator, but it's going to obey you. This is what it's going to do. Well, when you impose restrictions on the field, you completely cut off avenues of fulfillment that you didn't even know were there. You don't even know that somebody in your local circle already has everything that you want and has no need for that anymore. You don't even know that a total stranger who lives 2 blocks away may run into you into the store 2 days from now and have all the answers to everything that you ever wanted, and they have no need for whatever it is anymore and have no problem. It is a burden to them, but it's a blessing to you. The construct can solve our problems 100 million times faster and more efficiently than we can. And overthinking is what kills creativity every single time. Imagination allows the confident to draw from himself more than he contains. Imagination, intuition, and empathy, three spiritual aspects of you that you enjoy inside the Materium. So instead of taking external facts as our starting point, taking the inherent nature of mental power as our starting point is the fastest and the easiest way to get whatever it is we want. So I ask you to suspend your disbelief and see the world as I have presented it. And if you see the world as I have presented it, it's a very easy conclusion. You're either living a proactive life in being who you want to be, and the construct reciprocating with experiences that comport with the actor that you're playing, that you're building your own stage daily, or you're living a reactive life in dungeon programming, in a series of feedback loops that keep life. Sometimes it's dull and boring. Sometimes feedback loops can be exciting. You can be in a feedback loop of pure excitement, although it probably comes at cost. But I asked you from the beginning to suspend your disbelief just to entertain an intellectual exercise. Now, I'm telling you this is just an intellectual exercise about how reality is. But at the same time, I'm telling you this is what I believe to be true, or a very close approximation to it. Because I would have never been able to accomplish the things that I have accomplished in my life had not these things been true that I have just told you. That's my presentation, guys. I will PDF it for you, but it literally is that simple. It's so simple. The past does not obtain. And if you take any consideration of the past as modifying your present behavior, then you do it to yourself. And those limitations are imposed upon yourself. And the Materium, the construct, is going to create a stage for you with those limitations imposed. But the truly immortal, highly individualized soul can, before the end of this video, decide, I've had enough. Can completely change the trajectory of their life by simply agreeing that nothing 2 minutes ago about me is even true anymore. And tomorrow, I'm going to wake up a whole new individual, a whole new trajectory. And tomorrow's stage will be programmed for you in proportion to how you see yourself. Amen. Let me find a good outro. I'll go back to the chat. You know I do it every time. Might be tonight, but if y'all want me to do that other video, I'll do it. I've done some videos like that in the past. Listen to people's problems and tell them how to get through them. We'll do that. Meanwhile, love you guys. I'm gonna hit this awesome outro because I got things to do. Man, here. Hope y'all like my hat. It's not my typical one. Let's see here. Love you guys.